Yo guys, this is Reinhardt. So today we're going to be talking about where have I been, what I've been up to, and obviously we're going to talk about DK theory crafting for Worlds of Giant. Now you see my pretty fucking face? You're more than welcome to look at it. But unless you have a man crush on me or a female crush on me, I suggest you just load up the other, keep listening to me, start playing the video games or whatever you need to do, because all I'm doing is I'm gonna be looking at the screen and you're gonna be hearing me. So the first thing is I am actually gonna be streaming Heroes of the Storm because it's a lot more fun than anything else I ever played recently, even fun than WoW in the current state. And my girlfriend just moved in with me, so basically what's happening is I've been borrowing her alpha a lot. Anyway, with that said, what are we gonna be talking about? DKs in Worlds of Draenor. So let's do that. A lot of people say that DKs are gonna be very weak. We are losing necrotic strike and the sky is falling. Well, it all depends on the damage meters, damage numbers, and how many other shit people lose. The biggest thing I wanna say is, while necrotic is definitely a really strong help against the plate classes, I do think we're still gonna be in a pretty decent spot. But everything is gonna depend on one main thing, and that's gonna be a death coil damage. Why am I saying a death coil damage? Is because Scourge Strike is really terrible against anything with a really good amount of armor, about a third at least of the World of Warcraft. Let's see, we have a Shadow Priest, we have at least a Holy Pally 3 specs, we have a Druid that can go in the bear form, and that would actually be very miserable for us. We have Shaman, so there's a good amount of classes that actually Scourge Strike is really weak against. But on the other hand, that's where I'm saying death coil damage is could be back. It reminds me of Season 8, but in Season 8 DKs are in a really bad spot. That's because they couldn't kill anything plate related. That's why they actually introduced the necrotic strikes. So they're taking it away, but there's a few things that they're adding. The main thing that they're adding is actually weapon damage scaling. What actually happening is World of Warcraft decided to go what the Rift did before, and it's awesome. I completely support that. It's adding a weapon damage scaling to the spell abilities. So we tested it personally, and I think weapon damage scaling for death coil and diseases went up by, like, I would say anywhere from 15 to 25% when you actually unequip your weapon or equip your weapon as well. And yes, I understand. Okay, the item had only 80 strength, so I don't think 80 strength would be warranted for damage for spell to go from 20 to 25k on a test dummy. So obviously it was a weapon damage scaling, and that's the biggest one. So not only death coil is going to be affected by weapon damages, the other thing that's going to be affecting the death coil is also a 4-set PvP bonus, where you pop a Dark Transformation and increase your shadow damage by 20%. So those two things are humongous. Now, with that said, what also I predict? I predict human would not be the best race possible for us, because the optimized burst for Unholy Decays will be Dark Transformation bonus for shadow damage, Activated Trinket, and the Proc Trinket, and the Rune of Fallen Crusader. Obviously, the Proc Trinket is very RNG based, so obviously either you're gonna have to set it up that way you have to hold on your Dark Transformation for 10-15 seconds, which leaves a window of inefficiency to get your proc and actually set up a burst, or you have to basically pop it a little bit earlier. Obviously, with that said, I don't think the human race is, I think human race is still going to be very strong for DKs, but I don't think it's going to be like the best race possible. I think that orcs are always going to hold their own, but I also actually interested in the Draenor race in general. Not only adds a good survivability, but it also going to add the percentage to the strength. Let me drink some water. So with that said, let's look a little bit at about the talents. So first of all, I'm gonna discard the garbage really quickly here. So taking out the trash is gonna be a Defile. Defile is a very faily type ability for PvP. It's really good tanking ability because it does generate a good amount of threat and does increase in size. And it does actually offer some versatility, maybe especially against the rest of the Druid, when the Defile gets bigger and bigger, and there's a Druid can actually shift out of the Dust and Decay snare. As far as I know, the snare is going to carry over, but on the other hand, it does fall flat. Sindragosa looks like it's actually a very good damage dealing ability, does a lot of damage, especially against the range classes where you can be just breathing your wild breath into them. and it doesn't say it's interrupted. So if it is interrupted, then it's actually garbage. If it's not interrupted, then it's pretty decent. But in my opinion, I think Necrotic Plague is actually going to be the best. The reason why I'm saying Necrotic Plague is the best is just a sheer number of damage it provides. After, I would say, about how many stacks can it actually have? I think that's stacks up to like 20 times. So I think after like 10 stacks it starts doing more damage. And I remember at least after 50% of stacks, it actually gonna do a whole like more damage than both of your diseases combined. So what happens is actually probably we're gonna have to rack up that Necrotic Plague as soon as possible to have it going. How we're gonna do it? Very easy. I do think the Plague Barrier talent would be the best talent for us possible to take, for two reasons. One is just runes lose their value because we lost essentially we lost our necrotics, my friends. Anyway, death runes lose their value because necrotics are no longer in the game. Plague glitch is kind of out of the question there, and even though necrotic plague can probably get back on your target again after you plague glitch him, which sounds really awesome, I do think the plague barrier is much better. What the plague barrier basically gonna do is your death coils gonna add an additional stack to existing necrotic infections. So that's why you can probably rack up that necrotic plague much faster with a plague barrier and actually watch the shit die. On top of it, if you look at the necrotic plague, the reason why I think it's actually going to be a better talent is because you gain 5 runic power whenever a target infected with necrotic plague attempts to attack you. Why all of a sudden? Well, actually, as runic power always gonna help, especially when your death scores are going to be probably your main damage dealing ability. But to top it off, we lost force bonus. Old force bonus is going to be a glyph, optional glyph, where basically if you get stuck by moving impairing effects, you get 3 runic power per second, up to 5 seconds, so 15 runic power. Now here's the thing, DKs always get snared, and effectively the way I calculate, this thing can bring up to 150 runic power, at least 150 runic power a minute. So it's extra 5 coils at the very least. So we will need that extra runic power, we really will. Also, it's gonna be recover really good actual synergy with the conversion. I heard that Death Siphon is actually gonna be increased by a lot in terms of healing, and on top of it, since we no longer kind of carry about necrotics, this could be actually potentially a really good talent for us to take. I am kid you not, my friends. The reason why I'm saying is because A, we're gonna have extra range attack that generates runic power, does damage, provides extra healing, and on top of it, we actually can use the Death Runes, and it probably might actually be hitting plates harder than actual Scourge Strike. Death Pact actually does look very enticing as well, because it heals you for 50%, but also adds a 25% kind of like a necrotic effect on you, where you have to be healed through 25% of your HP until you start getting healing back up. So essentially, if you're getting constantly healed and you do a Death Pact, it's kind of like 25% of your HP effective healing. And conversion is not going anywhere, but it actually will offer really good synergy with the necrotic plague, in my opinion. On top of it, we're gonna get Death Strike is also gonna be improved a whole lot, and because we're no longer gonna be forced to use all our runes for necrotics to provide a superior pressure, and I think nowadays actually good decays the Blood Bowls instead of necrotics, and Blood Bowl is going away, but Pestilence is gonna be doing damage. But whatever it is, essentially what is gonna happen is we can be more death striking, and the healing on that thing is got increased. So overall, I do think decays are in a good spot, mainly because reduction of CC, reduction of disarms, and reducing amount of blankets. I think we're gonna rape shit up, and I do think necrotic plague barrier, and maybe possibly with a Death Siphon could be the best spec for us. But obviously everything has to be tested multiple times before I can give you my final answer about it. I do like the necrotic plague, I do like the plague barrier and the synergy with it. So possibly is again, what might happen is in terms of we're gonna have a much longer ramp up time than we have now, and essentially what's gonna happen is We have to get necrotic spike at least to, I would say, like 12 stacks, and then get the dark transformation going. But after that, pop the gargoyle, have a much stronger necrotic plague going. We will provide us some massive single target pressure. So it might take us 30 to 40 seconds to ramp it up, but once we ramp it up, we might be unstoppable. Again, I'll need to look into it, I'll need to see, I'll need to do some testing. Another very glyph that I'm also excited about is actually, man, I forgot to tell it, whatever, I forgot the name of the glyph. I think it's Ice Reaper. Yeah, Ice Reaper. Basically, ripping also applies to your chain of ice. It gives us ability to do a lot of, applies a lot of chain of ice at the not cost of the pressure. Right now, one of the biggest letdowns is if we would use the Death Rune or even the Frost Rune to get a chain of ice to either peel or gap close, we essentially lose a tons of momentum and tons of pressure. Well, with the Ice Reaper, it's no longer going to be the case. So I think that's pretty awesome. Empower Runic Weapon. Your Empower Runic Weapon also heals you for 30% of your maximum health. I do think that's also very nice. So we'll see. I'll need to look into it more. I do think the Runic Power glyph is also pretty good, as whenever you strike by moving Empowering Effect, you generate 3 Runic Power. I do think that Death Scrolls is going to be our main source. So we'll have to take a look at it. Also, Glyph of Death Scroll might not be bad at all when it comes to peeling, because if a Death Scroll gets all these increased modifiers to damage, and if all of that is going to be translated into absorption, we might actually pick that glyph up to help our allies survive. Anyway guys, I think that's about it with the theory crafting. If you have any other questions, go ahead and ask me here or come during my stream. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching, and до свидания.